What's going on, friends? It's Anton Daniels, and I gotta have a conversation with you guys about Tiege Hanley because you see how the sun is hitting me. This is no finesse, no makeup, no filters, no none of that. This is 100% Tiege Hanley. I use it in the morning as soon as I get up, right after I pray and brush my teeth, jump in the shower, and I'm hitting the streets because you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So even though they're giving you 40% off your first order, 20% off for life, even though you may get a free gift, forget all that, right? Because we would do this even if it was full price because it's worth that much. I'm in the streets, I'm kicking it with people, and I see Dusties everywhere. You don't want to be them. You want to separate yourself. And the way that you separate yourself is self-care. Ladies get it for the fellas. Fellas don't wait for the ladies to get it for you. I'm about to hit the streets right now, and I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling great. I mean, I already got confidence, but to have that extra boost of confidence, knowing that you've taken care of yourself and you set yourself apart from all of the rest of the sheep that's walking around making bad decisions on a daily basis. And it's reflected in their actions. It's reflected in the products that they use. It's reflected in the people that they follow. And so if you're trying to level up, if you're trying to make sure that you look good, they're going to send you the pack. They're going to give you all of the instructions on how you're supposed to use it. Then make sure you get your Tiege Hanley. Again, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. Get your free gift. Make sure you tap in with your boy Anton Daniels because Unc is never going to lead you wrong. I would never have you use a product that I don't use myself. Again, they've been rocking with me for a long time. Make sure you get your Tiege Hanley. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Thank you for tuning in for another edition of the Millionaire Morning Show. I'm your host, Anton Daniels. What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? What up to all of my friends and family in the building? I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with us. It is going to be one of the warmest days thus far inside of Metro Detroit. Now, I'm considering going over to Canada. Yeah, that's one of the benefits of here being right here in Detroit. I'm considering going over to Canada. I do have my passport, and I'm considering driving over to Windsor and having a conversation with the people that's over there in that other country to get their sentiment and see exactly how they feel about what's going on, considering that the weather is better. Anyways, again, I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. What up? What up? What up? The Terrible People Podcast? That's a heck of a name. It's so pretty today in Houston. Blame Canada. Zeroyce, what up? Your car is in the building. I appreciate you. Say, how you doing, big bro? I'm doing well. What up, Miss Freckles? What's up, Molly? What's up, Sabrina? Hey, what up? What up to all of my friends and family in the building? I appreciate y'all. Chris James. What up, Chris James? Rise up basketball. Be safe, Anton, says Dion Sardines. Anton's gonna be a passport, bro. No, that's for y'all. That's for y'all. I'm a traditional traveler. You know what I'm saying? I don't do things for the reasons that other people do things as far as why they go outside of the country. I just like to experience other things and other people. You know what I'm saying? You would never do it too scary. I would never do it too scary. You know, I'm not really sure, Adrian Roberson, exactly what that means. If you live in Detroit, right? If you've been here for any amount of time, especially the people that was born in the 80s and beyond, if you was born in the 80s or the 90s, Canada is a normal thing. Literally, it's a 20-minute drive across the bridge. You can be in Canada in less than 25 minutes. You can get there in 3 different ways. And they're about to open up the Gordie Howe Bridge. So I don't really know what that means. You wouldn't do it. You too scary. What are we in high school? Knock the stick off of my shoulder. Y'all need to grow up. Anyways, what's going on to all of my... And they love me in Canada. I have Canadian friends. What's happening? Tiege Hanley, 40% off, 20% off for life. What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all to everybody that continue to hold me down. Let me acknowledge some early cash appers because I always like to give credit to the people that hold down a platform. Now, let me set some ground rules before we get into the show. Number one, let me say that you guys have to be very, very mindful. All right, you got to be mindful. and that I like to leave the chat open for people to say what they want to say. We don't operate in an echo chamber. So just because you disagree with me or you disagree with something that's happening culturally does not mean that you cannot chat. You should say what you want to say when you want to say it, as long as you do not curse and you are not disrespectful. Disrespect, listen, I shouldn't even have to explain it. Don't go after nobody's kids. Don't go after nobody's parents. Talking about stuff that's outside, calling people out of their names. It's not necessary. This is a family show. We like to keep things on the surface really great, all right? If it's your first time here, make sure you hit a like for the algorithm. If you've been here more than once, then you should already be subscribed to the channel. So make sure you hit a like for the algorithm and turn on your notifications and subscribe, all right? We do not ask for super chats. We do not ask for cash apps. What I do is I like to acknowledge the people that contribute into the platform if they just so happen to choose to do that because they see the value that I add. All right. But what I do implore you guys to do, because I have an upcoming video coming up this week, just like I did last week. We did a live stream this last week. I have a video coming up for you guys this week based off of what you guys requested that I create. All right. I dropped the video last week inside of the Patreon. It was absolutely incredible. And if you're not getting $1 million worth of game, then that is on you. That is your fault. All right. So we got that popping off. If you want to tap into the Patreon and rock out with a group of people that's going in the direction that you're going in, make sure you do so. That link is in the description. Tiege Hanley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. Thank you to Tiege Hanley for continuing to sponsor the show and hold down the platform. And yeah, man, we here. We here. It's Monday, March 10th, 2025, year of our Lord. We are already in the third month. First quarter is almost up. Third month. What you doing with your life? You hanging out? You just figuring it out? You still winging it? After all of these years, after all of these months, we already in the first quarter, the end of the first quarter, and the first month, or the first year of the rest of your life, and you still just winging it? You still hanging out? Still criticizing people and ain't getting no money? You still broke? You still dusty? You still talking about what you gonna do? Still talking about that man that left you and ain't opening yourself up to new opportunities while working on yourself at the same time? We not doing that no more. We're not doing that anymore. We running it up, we getting to the bag, and we taking care of business, all right? All right, y'all, let's get to it. Again, make sure you hit a like for the algorithm. Send this to 3 friends. You should share this with your friends and family because this is the best morning show on the face of the earth. Got a lot to get to, a lot to cover from the weekend, as well as what is happening this week. All right, y'all ready? We about to hit the second quarter and people still chilling. Amazing. I want to give a shout out to a couple of people. Shout out to I don't know if I should give a shout out to this person or not. I'm in need of your help. And then they put their phone number up here. Listen, I thank you for the $1, but I am not going to be calling your phone number. I'm sorry, big dog. Thank you for your love, Maurice Simmons. I can send you your $1 back if you want to. Mike that dude. What up to my guy, Mike that dude? Always hold me down. I appreciate you, Mike. And we got Spencer Campbell in the building. Thank you, Spencer Campbell. And we got the Q show tonight. So Monday nights, you know what it is, regardless of what the weather is, we doing the Q show. Trini Life, you really want quick hits? You want me to bring back quick hits at least once or twice a week? You love quick hits? We'll do a quick hits. We're not going to do quick hits today. I like to get into the thick of things. I like to really deep dive into the stories. But we'll do a quick hits for Trini Life just because. But in the meantime, we got to go ahead and hit y'all with that prayer. So, Lord bless us. We appreciate you. We thank you for continuing to hold us down. Thank you for being at the forefront of our life. Bless us to be a great week. And bless us not to kill each other just because the weather is changing. Bless us not to kill each other because the weather is changing. Whenever the weather change in the community, whenever the weather start getting super warm, when people start to put that armor all on their tires and they get their car cleaned, people start killing each other. The bodies start dropping. The bodies start dropping. Bless us to be a little bit more mindful. Bless us not to kill each other. Bless the kids to be able to survive the summer and the spring. And bless y'all to actually do the thing that you're supposed to do on spring break this year. Don't go down there tearing up Florida, tearing up things, all of that. You off work and you watching? In Jesus' name, amen. All right? let's go ahead and get into the show. So first things first, ladies and gentlemen, Canada has a new liberal leader. Let me say that again. Canada has a new liberal leader, and they got rid of Justin Trudeau. I didn't think that y'all would do it. I honestly did not think that y'all would do it, but they telling me that Canada did it, and we going to find out what's going on, all right? Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel with turning your notifications. Let's rock.
All right, members of Canada's ruling Liberal Party have elected a successor to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Economist Mark Carney won the race, taking nearly 86% of the votes. Now, Carney served as the head of the Bank of England before returning home to do the same in Canada. And this all comes amid the chaotic trade war with the U.S., as we've been discussing. CBS News senior White House and politics correspondent Ed O'Keefe joins us now from the Canadian capital of Ottawa. Ed, in his acceptance speech, Mark Carney said, quote, "In trade, as in hockey, Canada will win." It was a pretty boisterous speech. What does his victory mean for relations with the U.S.?
Boisterous and ominous at times as he warns of dark days amid this trade war that has been started by President Trump. It is completely unclear, Errol, exactly how he plans to proceed for a few reasons. One, he's not yet prime minister. We expect him to become head of Canadian government later this week. It takes a few days to get him set up to do so. And at that point, then, we may start to get a better sense of how exactly he plans to engage with the Trump administration. But he and his fellow party members made clear this talk of Canada having to buckle to American economic pressure or even become the 51st American state is a non-starter for them. And they hinted that if it means seeking alliances or economic cooperation in other parts of the world, they will do so. This relationship, has had its tests. Several party members alluded, for example, to the Iraq War earlier this century and the big disagreements between the United States and Canada about that. This is obviously a lot sharper, but it's been somewhat personal between the president and outgoing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. So there is a chance here potentially for a reset with Mark Carney, who, as you said, was an economist, former heads of the banks of Canada and England, never been a politician before, and easily held on to now lead the Liberal Party as they seek to hold on to power with a general election that could be held as early as this month, but has to be held by October, the way the rules work here. Errol.
They're saying that this guy is liberal, that he's a part of the Liberal Party of Canada. That can't bode well. Impossible for that to be able to bode well. But one of the things that I will applaud Canada for, actually a couple different things. The first thing that I'll applaud Canada for is for getting rid of Justin Trudeau and forcing him to resign, because that guy is absolutely trash. We never respected him. We looked at him as more feminist. He actually was advocating for Kamala Harris to win the president of the United States of America, and for good reason, I would guess, because it was easier for them to take advantage of what's going on inside of the United States of America. At least that's what I think his advisors was probably saying to him. But congratulations on getting rid of Justin Trudeau. Congratulations. Now, the second thing that I'll congratulate you guys for is actually going with somebody that's outside of the establishment. Somebody that's not a traditional Democrat or Republican, or in your words, liberal or conservative, or that's a part of party politics as usual. We did the same thing here in the United States of America. We did the same thing in the United States of America. Oh, trust me, I'm going to get to that shortly. Rise Up Basketball. Whenever you're trying to talk to people, you got to build them up before you give them some accountability. All right? This is one of the things that you guys have to learn in your households or in business. You never just hit somebody with the ooh-wop shebang. Bam. You never do that. We like our Canadians. We like the people that's up north. We love them. And so before you start to hold them accountable, you have to first find 2 or 3 good things to say about somebody before you start holding them accountable for the things that they do. But I have to applaud them first for getting rid of Justin Trudeau. That's the first thing. The second thing is they went with somebody that's outside of party politics. However, he is still super liberal. He is a climate activist. I did do a little bit of research on him. And so what Canadians effectively did, what you guys deserve, what's coming to you. What Canadians effectively did, I know he ran the Bank of England. We're going to get there. What Canadians effectively did was they brought in somebody that's probably even more liberal than the outgoing prime minister. You know what this is the equivalent of? Us in the United States of America, we like to say this is just like getting rid of Lori Lightfoot and bringing in Brandon Johnson in Chicago. Yeah, you guys were disgusted with Lori Lightfoot because she was a DEI hire and she was no good. And, you know, she brought in all of her liberal policies and she was one of the architects of embracing the sanctuary city status of Chicago. And she decided that she wanted to, lean more into diversity, equity, and inclusion and completely destroy the streets of Chicago. And then Brandon Johnson, y'all say, oh, we discussed it with Lori Lightfoot and y'all want to get rid of her. And then Brandon Johnson came in and he was 10 times worse than Lori Lightfoot. This is effectively what Canada did. So in these instances, I like to say, even though I love you guys, I love the people, I don't love the mindset of the people and the things that y'all decide that y'all want to rock out with. I don't love the mindset. I don't. I think that it's stupid. It's dumb. Why would you elect somebody that's even more far left than the person that you just got rid of? So you want more of the thing that you actually despise. Okay.
Yeah, and that Trump-Trudeau relationship goes all the way back to Trump's first presidential term. So this certainly new and uncharted territory. Ed O'Keefe, great to see you this morning. Thanks very much. Let's dig into this a bit more now with Brian Pasifume. He's a national politics reporter at the Toronto Sun and also joins us from Ottawa. You're inside, so you're avoiding all that snow outside your window, which is smart. So we're talking about Mark Carney here. His claim to fame is his navigation of the 2008 financial crisis as a central banker, but so much of him is unknown to Americans. So why was he elected now?
Yeah, he's sort of an outsider, but he isn't. It's kind of hard to explain. The way that Canada's political system works is a lot different than the U.S. It's you guys have separate elections for prime ministers or for the president, but for us, the prime minister is the head of the party. He's not a politician. He's not elected. He still hasn't won a seat in the House of Commons. So yeah, he's been Justin Trudeau's financial advisor for probably the better half of the last half decade. But yeah, he's the real test comes. He's outside of the political world. He's not a politician. He doesn't have a seat. So
somebody said we didn't elect anything. He was selected. He was selected by the people that y'all elected in the office to select him. Your politics is very much a reflection of where you're at culturally and as a society. When you look at a city in shambles, or you say that the police department is broken, or there is no funding, or they got high taxes and all of this stuff, you can't just blame the politicians. You have to blame the people that elected them. So when I see something like, for example, when we was talking about Chicago or Dalton, Illinois, or you can say what's happening in New York or what's happening over in Los Angeles and all of these sanctuary cities over in Denver and stuff, and you see this stuff take place, and now we're talking about Canada because we're moving more international because of the tariffs, and that's incited this conversation. That's the people. It's a reflection of you guys. When we see that you guys are basically a socialist country and you have high taxes and you still have trash healthcare, well, then I have to blame the people because you're the ones that elected your leaders that then selected the people that's inside of office right now.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens, or even how long he's going to be prime minister, because as Ed mentioned, Canada's headed for a federal election probably sooner, probably later, but anytime between now and October.
So in many ways, it seemed like this is a stopgap moment for Canada. Help us understand then what we might expect from those upcoming elections, because for months, polls showed the opposition Conservative Party leading the Liberal Party, but now they're statistically tied, and we saw this result. So what's happening?
Say it's tied. I say they've really done a lot to close the gap. Justin Trudeau was sort of elected on a big fervor of Trudeau mania. People loved him.
Somebody said Canada does not have trash healthcare. What are you talking about? Absolutely you do. Absolutely you do. I did a whole report where there are cities and towns that don't even allow for you to have a family care doctor because they don't incentivize privatization or more importantly, you guys pay so much in taxes that you don't have the ability to be able to pay outside of your normal healthcare coverage. And now it was a bunch of people that was lined up to get a primary care doctor to have preventative maintenance, not just hospital care. So yeah, you may not have a hospital bill when you go to the hospital because you have a socialist system and you have a communist-like system where everybody is taken care of allegedly, but at the same time, you're having funding issues. It takes a long time for you to be able to see a doctor. And most of y'all don't even have primary care physicians, depending on what the coverage is, because there's no incentive for them to open up doctor's offices in certain towns. So it's unfortunate that I know more about your healthcare coverage in your system because I've researched it than a lot of you do. You absolutely do. And y'all still have to have long waits inside of emergency and ER because you don't have the preventative care. So then people go into the emergency because they just getting regular stuff done because they don't have the ability to have a primary care physician that they visit on a regular basis. Absolutely, it is trash. 100% it is trash. 100% trash.
Loved his hair. They loved his handsome looks. That quickly tarnished. He's been embroiled in a number of pretty significant scandals. He's the only Canadian prime minister ever to be convicted of breaking ethics laws. So the Liberals' fortunes have just plummeted over the past few years, particularly lately with the cost of living crisis, that coupled with the trade war that you guys have launched against us. So right now the polls are sitting there about the Conservatives are about 10 points ahead.
I know I'm right,
which
JJ.
is a lot less than what it used to be. It used to be a huge gap. But with Justin Trudeau on his way out and Carney on his way in, the gap's closed. So really, the question remains: is what's going to happen? Is the Liberals going to call an election? Whoever is the prime minister in Canada has the power to dissolve Parliament anytime they like. So really, it's a numbers game right now. It's going to see how the Liberals think that they're going to do. Are they going to do better if they call the election now? Are they going to call it later? So exciting times going on in Ottawa right now. If you find this sorts of things exciting,
Yeah, never.
So it's funny though because as they bring in Mark Carney, who is going to be the new Prime Minister of Canada, which is a worse version of Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau was feminine, but, he was weak. He bent the knee. He tried to stand strong based off of what that battery that they was putting inside of his back. But, nevertheless, he was still trash. Right after that, China throws huge tariffs on Canada. Check it out. Hey, you can't make this up. Check it out.
Newsweek tariffs on some Canadian food imports effective March 20th. China's Ministry of Finance says these tariffs include 100% on rapeseed and pea products, as well as 25% on pork and some seafood imports. Last year, Canada imposed levies of 100% on Chinese electric vehicles and 25% on steel and aluminum from China. Well, that led Beijing to launch an anti-dumping probe into Canadian imports, and Beijing also filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization. Meantime, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is expecting 25% tariffs for steel and aluminum imports to take effect on Wednesday. Those tariffs were announced by President Trump last month, and they apply to imports from Canada and Mexico. However, Lutnick says these tariffs could be lifted if the flow of undocumented migrants and illegal drugs, including fentanyl, into the U.S. stops. Here is Lutnick speaking earlier to NBC's Meet the Press.
The president said, okay, I'll tell you what, if they're in the deal that we made, I'll keep it tariff-free. But for everybody who was outside that deal, who took the risk, who didn't pay attention and respect the agreements that President Trump made his first term, they're going to pay a 25% tariff. And that's sort of like meeting in the middle.
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick there. Now, U.S. officials say the policy is aimed at cracking down on efforts by countries, including Russia and China, to bypass existing duties. Now, U.S. steelmakers have urged President Trump to resist exemptions to these tariffs, and now U.S. companies that use aluminum and steel are at risk of being hit. For more on the hour's top stories, let's go to Bloomberg's Dan Schwartzman.
As a potential government shutdown looms, House Republicans have announced a spending bill to keep government agencies open through September 30th, which could lead to a confrontation with Democrats. The bill would continue to allow the Trump administration to make cuts while slightly decreasing overall discretionary spending. Democrats and some Republicans have expressed reservations about some aspects of the bill, including defense spending, tax cuts, and the impact on federal agencies and programs.
So essentially, they like to highlight the fact that the United States of America is in a tariff war, a trade war, so to speak, but a tariff war with Canada and Mexico and China and all of these places, right? But in reality, what you're really experiencing is, and what they're not highlighting, is that Canada has their own problems on their own fronts from other places that they're doing business with, including China. So this incoming prime minister will not only have to deal with the problems that came along with Justin Trudeau with the Trump administration, because Trump effectively, and although we know that they need to do more on their borders, the reality is that they also need to do more as far as protecting, and this is, I'm looking at it from the Canadians' perspective, they need to do more as far as protecting their industries, but they can't, because it is a liberal country ran by liberal leaders, and they're overtaxed, and they have no ability to really be able to incentivize businesses to do business within Canada, especially when we are the ones that is their biggest trading partner, and we are the biggest consumers. And so the minute that Trump decides that he wants businesses from Canada and Mexico to do more business inside of the United States of America, which in my opinion is really what this trade war is. It's to bring manufacturing, bring jobs, bring industries that can benefit the United States of America and its citizens with jobs and commerce back into the United States of America by putting pressures on them. Now, in this report, it did say that different industries are trying to get tariff exemptions, but Trump is resisting that. He did extend exemptions to the auto industry. He did extend exemptions and gave a little bit more of a timeline over in Canada and Mexico as they continue to acquiesce over to our demands. But what he's really trying to do is get them to say, listen, we want to build more plants. We want to build more industries. We want to sell the products that we sell inside of the United States of America. We want to manufacture it in the United States of America. And that is the real goal. That is the real driving force behind the tariffs that is happening inside of the United States of America. And we're going to get there shortly. But Canadians, the one thing that they're not talking about that I'm going to talk about here, right here on the Millionaire Morning Show, is the fact that you guys are facing additional tariffs from countries outside of the United States of America, what is pushing pressure on you guys, and it is going to possibly push you guys into a recession. So, with that being said, that means that you guys should either A, become the 51st state of the United States of America, which your incoming prime minister said that he's going to resist, or B, you need to give in and do the thing that Trump wants you to do. Those are your only two options. Honestly, those are the only two. And I know you got Canadian pride. I know y'all got a lot of hockey teams. I know you got the Toronto Raptors up there. We might as well bring the Toronto Raptors back in here. Where we gonna put it? Where we gonna put the Raptors at, y'all? Y'all want to bring the Raptors back inside of the United States of America? We thought about opening up a football team over there. We might as well bring the Raptors back inside of the United States of America too. I know a lot of Canadians, they come over when Toronto play here in Detroit because they can support their team and all of that. But all I'm saying is, it's better to give in. You know what I'm saying? All of that pride, all of that stuff that y'all got going on over there, that's not going to benefit you. That's not going to be best for you. Listen to Anton. Listen to Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I got you. Anyways, make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel with turn on your notifications. Let me read a couple of these super chats. Numbers Everywhere 080 says, do you think Trump will put the dollar back on the gold standard? Do you think Trump will put the dollar... What did you copy and pasted it? I think the dollar will just be fine. A lot of places has reserve currency in a dollar. Kendrick says, Anton, Canadians did not elect them. Only 150,000 Liberal Party members chose to replace Trudeau. The majority of Canadians do not trust Carney. This is worse for us and America. It ain't bad for us. It's good for us. I tend to think it's good for us. What's going on? Showcase Classic says, good morning, Anton, in the chat. May we all have a great day filled with opportunities. I appreciate you, big dog, for holding us down. Anyways, make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Also, make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat, all right? Is that where we going? No, we're not going to go there. We'll come there. We'll come there later. Trump in addition to the inward pressure that they're facing from their new prime minister, as well as tariffs, additional tariffs from China, Canada is facing new tariffs. And Trump spoke about this extensively. Make sure you guys hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get into it.
In Canada, we find that they're charging us over 200% for dairy products. You know about that. And when I left, we had that.
Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that Canada was already charging us over 200% for dairy products? Why are we just now becoming aware of the fact that all of these other countries been taxing us for a long time and getting away with it? But then they want to act like we the bad guy when we decide that we want to go ahead and address it accordingly. Now everybody want to act like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Did y'all know that Canada was charging us over 200% for dairy products, according to what Trump is saying right now?
Well taken care of, but under Biden,
What up,
they
Cat
just
Eyes?
kept raising it. Very difficult to deal with the Canadian representatives. 250% for dairy products, tariff. So where do you hear that? You
Tariffs
don't hear
on
that.
everybody.
They have a tremendously high tariff. Give you the exact numbers in a little while coming out on lumber. So they sell us lumber. They have a tremendous tariff. They make it impossible for us to sell lumber or dairy products into Canada, but our numbers are a tiny fraction of that. Almost.
Is that fair? Is that fair? Is it fair that they make it impossible for us to sell products over there, but then they say that this is equal, we have an equal footing, this is our best friend? Canada said that they was our best friend. Then why are you preventing me from being able to get my money?
Almost non-existent. And what we're doing is freeing up our forests from the environmental nonsense that they put on them, where you can't cut down a tree. And we have to cut down trees in order to build the firewalls. And those trees are sold, but we're freeing it up on an emergency basis because Canada has been ripping us off for years on tariffs for lumber and for dairy products. 250%, nobody ever talks about that. 250% tariff, which is taking advantage of our farmers, so that's not gonna happen anymore. They'll be met with the exact same tariff unless they drop it. And that's what reciprocal means. And we may do it as early as today, or we'll wait till Monday or Tuesday. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to charge the same thing. It's not fair. Never has been fair.
Matt, where exactly are we with tariffs? What's the status of these tariffs today?
Yeah, it's incredibly confusing. It feels like every hour almost there's a new tariff that is threatened or dialed back or delayed. I haven't looked at my phone in 90 seconds, so I might have missed another tariff threat on Truth Social. But look, 20% tariffs on China, that did kick in on Tuesday. There's also 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico, excluding autos and products that are compliant with the USMCA trade agreement. 10% tariff on Canadian energy and potash, which is a compound used to make fertilizer that American farmers need. But look, there's more tariffs that are on the way. Maybe. I mean, the president has threatened to impose new tariffs on steel and aluminum imports next week.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Although we've granted exemptions to the auto industry, and the auto industry, they should have been making adjustments, and they should have known that Trump was going to win the president of the United States of America. That's what they get. That's what they get. And the UAW, y'all have done y'all part in supporting leadership in the UAW that ultimately drove manufacturing into Mexico in the first place. You did. And I warned you during your last strike that y'all did against American automakers. I've warned you in previous strikes. You guys have driven your trash leadership, which we have heard nothing from Shawn Fain. Has anybody heard from Shawn Fain? Ever since Biden got ousted, we ain't hear a word from Shawn Fain. Not one word have we heard from Shawn. Remember, he was all on the stump and he was looking for a cabinet position within the Biden administration. Kamala Harris didn't really promise him anything, but he couldn't go back on his promise that he made to Biden, so he still had to, support the Kamala Harris campaign. We ain't heard nothing from President Shawn Fain. Y'all getting rid of Shawn Fain? And then manufacturing was driven to Mexico and Canada. And what that did was it basically eliminated American jobs while continuing to say, hey, made in the Americas, made in North America, made in, the region where we have the USMCA agreement, which used to be the NAFTA agreement. So then they were basically building parts and manufacturing everything inside of Mexico. And they were using parts that was shipped over from China. And Trump said, no more. You're not going to get through this loophole. You're not going to finesse us. You're not going to take advantage of the American taxpayers. We're not going to subsidize you, especially after we had to bail you guys out during the last meltdown of the United States of America in 2008, which was largely attributed to Bush and the Clinton organization, in my opinion, that Obama came in and inherited. So I'm not going to lay that at his feet. But Trump said, listen, we're not going to do that anymore. And so United States manufacturers, auto manufacturers, not only from the United States of America, but also foreign automakers, have to start making their cars inside of the United States of America, or they're going to get tariffed. Or they're going to get tariffed. That's just it. And the aluminum industry and the steel industry, thank Trump. He's saving y'all from yourselves. So now, instead of having to compete and manufacturing steel and aluminum at a loss, we preserve jobs, and hopefully we can continue to get investment inside of the United States of America where you guys can be profitable and then reinvest into making better facilities for your workers to be able to work in. Thank you, Trump. To all of my friends down there at the steel industry, down there in Dearborn, Michigan, thanks, Trump. He's actually working on your behalf and making it more difficult for manufacturers to buy steel and aluminum that they then use to make the parts for your car. He's incentivizing them to buy here in America instead of buying overseas. So when you see a lot of these Democrats and they say stuff like, they're going to make it more expensive, what they're effectively doing is saying, eliminate American jobs so that you can buy cheaper cars. Listen to what I'm saying. When you see Jasmine Crockett and AOC and Bernie Sanders and all of these people who have never actually had a real job, I'm not talking about being a waitress. I'm talking about a real job, working in a manufacturing facility, being, of service to somebody else outside of American taxpayer dollars. What they're telling you to do is to get rid of American jobs so that we can buy cheaper products from overseas, shut down our plants inside of the United States of America, get more government federal jobs, which you use your taxpayers to subsidize, which then increase the federal deficit, all so you can hopefully buy a Chinese vehicle. It's the same thing that Clinton did in the 90s. He sold off all of the manufacturing. He allowed for them to all go overseas. It laid off all of the manufacturers and got rid of industries inside of the United States of America. It temporarily boosted the amount of money that we were generating because we became a financing state, financing capital, financing country. And so that's when the banks became too big to fail and we couldn't self-correct. Right? We couldn't have a reset within the banking industry to where they learn from their lessons, which Obama then inherited and Bush emphasized and then capitalized off of, while at the same time jumping into these wars so he can stay in office. And I hated when Bush was in office. And Clinton sold off the American manufacturing industries inside of the United States of America that was pushed even further into a recession in 2008. That's why the banks became too big to fail, because the only way in which we were making money was based off of the interest that you guys was paying off of the services that was being offered. We became a financing capital. Even the financing arms of the auto manufacturers, that's why they pushed so far into subprime loans, because that's the way that they were boosting profits. We weren't selling anything to anybody based off of what we were making. All right, let me break it down for y'all. Y'all may not understand this, but I'm going to break it down for you just so you can truly understand from a C student's perspective, okay? You ready? All right, check this out. So the banking industry and all of these other manufacturers were incentivized in the 90s to set up their own financing arms. That's why when you buy a car from General Motors, you then finance it from GMAC at the time, right? Or GM Financial. Or if you buy a Lexus, it's Lexus Financial. If you buy Toyota, it's Toyota Financial. Just remixed, right? Ally used to be what I believe was GM Financial or GMAC, right? Ford Credit, all of these places, right? And the reason that they did that is because they needed to boost profits. So when you make a vehicle, all right, this is the greatest morning show on earth, and I need you to really pay attention. Listen so you'll understand where the money comes from. Hear me out. Pay attention. Turn up your TV. For all of my hairdressers, for all of my people that's driving trucks, from everybody that's working from home. If you in the office right now, turn it up in your AirPods so I can give you a financial lesson. You can understand where it comes back to the money. Okay? We used to just sell cars, right? General Motors, Ford, Chrysler, all of those places, they used to just sell vehicles. And what happened was you would save up for a car and you would just pay cash for it. And that was back when wages was in the single digits, the dollars, $2, $3, $4. If you was really getting money, you wind up going all the way up to $9, $10, $11 an hour, and the auto manufacturers was booming. They would save, you would buy the car cash, and that would be the end of it. We didn't have all of this debt. At some point, when we started to get rid of manufacturing in the United States of America, we needed to boost profits. So we separated it. And manufacturers of all types, but I'm just going to use the auto industry to illustrate this. Auto industry decided that, you know what? In order to sell more vehicles, then we can finance it. It's the same thing that happened with the housing industry. You used to save for a house, you buy the house, or you built the house, and that was the end of it. You pay your property taxes, and that goes into the infrastructure and the schools and all of that. But instead, we decided that, hey, we can get more houses sold, we can get more cars sold if we allow for you idiots to finance it, because we can't wait to put something on a payment plan. So we established the rules around financing, and then they created separate arms of these auto manufacturers. That's when now it's normal, because a lot of y'all was just born into it, so you don't know the history of it, but now it's normal. So what they did was they created separate arms. They had the financing arm that would then say, okay, listen, we'll give it to you for 60 months, 48 months, 60 months, and now it goes up to 72 months and 84 months, and then you'll pay us the interest. So that's how they make their money, off of the interest. But they had to create a banking arm, essentially, to then lend the manufacturer the money so that you, the manufacturer, makes the money, right? So then they have the transaction price. What they also found was that they can raise the prices of the vehicles because you'd be more willing to pay for it if you can actually justify it in the financing arms, right? If you can go by not how much you buy for the vehicle for, but how much your car payment is, you'd be willing to buy it. It's the same thing with the housing industry. They're able to raise the prices of the houses as long as they lower the interest rates, because they know that you are more concerned with the payment instead of how much you're paying in interest, which you wind up paying for that car way more than you would have had you pay cash for it. And people hate Dave Ramsey for saying, hey, pay cash, get rid of the debt, because they've been socialized to believe that financing is the way to go, because we've basically marketed it to you, and now you market it to each other to where we don't even have to create commercials for you. So what happened was they created a separate arm. They created the financing arm, and they got the manufacturing arm. They're not concerned about the manufacturing arm, because the minute that it leaves the lot and it goes over to the dealership is now paying interest on that car, which they're now incentivized to get it over to you. So they want to get incentives from the financing arm. That's why when you go to the dealership, right? I'm giving y'all a lesson. Listen. When you go to the dealership, they don't want you to buy the car cash. They want to move the vehicle, but especially for vehicles that are highly sought after, they don't want to buy the car cash because they get incentives from the financing arms to then finance it, because that's how they make their money. So at some point, it became imbalanced. It went away from us making vehicles, and they were more incentivized to finance vehicles, right? Because they were making more money, profitability, off of lending you money than they were off of manufacturing the vehicles themselves. We no longer became a manufacturing hub, we became a financing hub. That's why banks were too big to fail in 2008. But then they got greedy because they wanted to sell more vehicles, and they wanted to finance more vehicles, and they wanted to increase profits. So what did they do? They said, we can create a subprime borrower. Now, instead of your credit score justifying you being able to afford the vehicle, We will charge you more. It costs more to be poor. We will charge you more in interest if you are a riskier lender, and we're going to get our money up front. And it became so financially advantageous. It became so much more profitable for the financing arms that they took on more subprime borrowers, and then it extended into the housing industry, it extended into cars, it extended into credit cards, it extended into everything. Eventually, they got so greedy that they started incentivizing the bureaus and the credit agencies that was supposed to be policing them. They start paying them off because they were making so much money, which then created the economic crisis that we faced in 2008. America sold off its manufacturing, and we had no other industry to depend on, which we then had to bail out the banks. We then had to bail out the banks. And guess what? Some of those financing arms, they folded. You know what wound up happening? We created new ones. And we said, well, we just going to abide by the rules this time. We're going to make sure that we don't break the rules that then put us in this position, and we're going to be more stringent on who we lend to, and that's why nobody could get a loan in 2009, 2010, 2011. Anybody that was cash flush, you benefited. You had a buying opportunity. For the people that say, oh man, the market is correcting itself, stocks is overinflated. A lot of these companies, the valuation of them are overinflated. So now it's a buying opportunity for you, because anybody that got cash, anybody that's generating revenue, anybody that's not hamstrung by a bunch of debt that they got to keep paying for, you now can pay into it and buy into it and be able to profit more, because your stocks and the valuation of the things that you're buying is going to explode over a period of time because you got a long-term view. What Trump is trying to do is basically not make us a one-trick pony and bring manufacturing back inside of the United States of America. But he can't explain this to you because your attention span is so low that you don't really understand that you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, you're creating a Ponzi scheme, and you're making your children have to suffer for the bad decisions and the voting decisions that you make because you're ignorant, you're stupid, you don't understand it, you don't get it. You don't understand the idea behind leveraging tariffs, or then having negotiations, or forcing companies to create jobs back in the United States of America. You can't do so by saying, hey, you just need to create a job, because they go by the profits. But if you say, okay, well, you got to pay more to sell to American citizens, then they're going to say, you know what? Let me create a manufacturing facility there because it's going to be beneficial for us in the future. And we ain't got to worry about tariffs anymore. The minute that you start learning, the minute that you understand it more, the minute that you then unlock yourself to think differently about how money works, you don't look at the industry and say, man, stocks is down. You say, this is a buying opportunity. You don't look at what the tariffs do and say, man, it costs me more. You say, how many jobs can we create? It's a different mindset that comes along with it. We want smaller government, more private industry, less subsidizing people to get federal jobs and acting like we got a lot of jobs during the Biden administration. We didn't. We just gave out a bunch of money and increased the federal deficit. That is correct. That is why it's called predatory lending. That is because they know that it's going to cost you way more. Think about it for a second. You say, man, it cost me more to buy a house. I will tell you that the interest rates are much lower than they were in the 80s and 90s. But they'll say, man, it cost me more to be able to buy a house, right? Or my payment is higher on my car or my house. I'm not going to dig no more into it. You so focused on the payment instead of focusing on the product. I don't want to deep dive too much into it. Anyways, new tariffs on Canada. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. I can't keep giving y'all this type of game. I can't break this down for y'all. Because it's too much. Some of y'all don't appreciate it, and that's why we got to put a barrier to entry down there. Maddie Go says, I love tariffs, but my put options are printing. I'm shorting Caterpillar right now as we speak. Why do you do options? You do options? Anyways, shout out to you. God bless you. Be Easy 333 says, Canada becoming the 51st state will hurt conservative voting power, making elections even more difficult. It should only remain a negotiating tactic. Dwayne McCullough says Trump was the one that did the USMCA 8 years ago. Correct. It was a renegotiation of the North America Free Trade Agreement. I agree. And when Biden got into office, they still did what they wanted to do. The cook up with Vaughn Free says, yes, sir, Anton, on that money talk. Sometimes I got to give people the game. They don't like it, but I give people the game. Eddie Mota says, AD just recently bought a car. There's 96 months. Yep, and the longer you finance it for, the more profit that they make. Shout out to the average gamer. I appreciate you. Thank you to everybody that support the platform. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's go into it. So, in addition to that, one of the things that they've been saying is that it's a beef. That when Elon Musk came to visit Trump, and that when they have their cabinet meetings, a lot of times they're trying to say that essentially what's happening is that they're having a kerfuffle. And one of the people that got into it was Elon Musk and Marco Rubio. So I want to look at this from both lenses, all right? First, I want to look at it from the lens of the liberal view. And obviously, there's no more liberal view than MSNBC. So first, we're going to look at it from the liberal view, and then we're going to get Caroline Leavitt's perspective of exactly what happened. But this is what was being reported over the weekend.
Some brand new reporting in the New York Times today on a confrontation of sorts inside the White House between Elon Musk and...
She's so excited to report this. There's some conversations. She's so excited to report this too.
Several members of Donald Trump's new cabinet, with Donald Trump sort of reduced to the role of spectator. The Times cites 5 people with knowledge of the confrontation, reports this about an argument between Elon Musk and Marco Rubio. Quote, "You fired nobody," Musk told Rubio, then scornfully added that perhaps the only person he had fired was a staff member from his Department of Government Efficiency. Rubio had been privately furious with Musk for weeks, ever since his Doge team effectively shuttered an entire agency that was supposedly under Rubio's control, the United States Agency for International Development. Musk was not being truthful, Rubio said. What about the more than 1,500 State Department officials who took early retirement in buyouts? Didn't they count as layoffs, he asked sarcastically, whether Musk wanted him to rehire all those people just so he could make a show of firing them again. Then he laid out his detailed plans for reorganizing the State Department. Musk was unimpressed. He told Rubio he was, quote, good on TV, with the clear subtext being he wasn't good for much else. Where was Donald Trump in all this? The Times reports that he sat back as if he was watching a tennis match. Ultimately, he, quote, intervened to defend, wait for it, Rubio. Said he was doing a great job. Rubio has a lot to deal with, the president said. He's very busy. He's always traveling and on TV. And he has an agency to run. So everyone just needs to work together, end quote. And then for the first time since his inauguration, Trump put some restraints on Elon Musk. From this reporting, quote, from now on, he said, the secretaries would be in charge. The Musk team will only advise. Joining our coverage, host of MSNBC's Politics Nation.
Oh, not Bobblehead. Okay, we'll get to Bobblehead in a minute. I want to get his opinion because we got to be fair and we got to be equal and we got to make sure that we get the liberal perspective as well as getting the conservative perspective, all right? So, in short, they basically have these meetings, which is, in my opinion, not abnormal in any corporate environment, where the closed door meetings are the ones where you actually solve for the problems and you have the differences of opinion and the differences in industries and whatever it is that you got going on within your company, right? The different departments and the department heads come in and they say what they really thinking and they have these conversations so that they can figure out exactly how they can go move forward as a company, right? So it's not any different than what happens inside of your household, what happened inside of corporate America. Assuming that this is what happened, you have tough conversations between the competing heads of what's best for the company itself. In this instance, the company just so happened to be the United States of America. On one side, you got Elon Musk, who is a business owner and is regularly going through to try to figure out where the waste is, who's stealing, who not, what agencies need to still be there, and where we got government too big that's taking advantage of the American taxpayers. On the flip side, you have different people that challenge him, including Marco Rubio, which in my opinion, this is a healthy way to run a company and to run a government. It's not supposed to be kumbaya unless you open up the doors and then everybody is on one accord after we solve for the issues. On the other side, you got Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio, according to MSNBC and New York Times, the New York Times is saying, listen, this is my agency over here. I don't want you to cut all of these people. And then Elon Musk is saying, well, what is they doing and what value do they add to the American people? And so you have a clash between two people that have a similar interest to make sure that the United States of America is running efficiently, but at the same time, they have different ideas as to how this thing is supposed to go through. I believe that this is great. If this is true, if this is exactly how it went, I believe this is beautiful. And one of the beauties of it is that you then have the CEO in Trump that says, okay, let me listen to both sides. Let me let y'all fight it out. Now I'm going to insert myself and say, this is how we're going to do it after I hear from both sides. I think this is absolutely beautiful. 100% gorgeous in the way that they're handling what's happening inside of the administration. But let's get Reverend Bobblehead in here to get his perspective.
Musk team will only advise.
We already know that the Democrats are going to say this is because they're rambling and they don't know, and Trump is not the president, and Elon Musk has been having the reins. We already know what the Democrats is going to say, but let's give them a chance to be able to explain how they see it.
Our coverage, host of MSNBC's Politics Nation, president of the National Action Network, the Reverend Al Sharpton, joins us. Christy and Michael are still here. Rev, I have been watching the Bannon-Musk power struggle with keen interest since it first emerged during the campaign. And I think I said on television, do not ever bet against the guy who was willing to go to jail to not testify before Congress, and the guy who sort of in I don't know if his life, I don't know enough about his life, but who seems to understand the base and the most powerful elements of the Trump base better than anybody in Trump land, and that is Steve Bannon. And I don't have any idea if Bannon has any role in all this, but it does seem like Musk has stumbled, not by taking more attention from Trump, which is how most people stumble, but by dirtying him up politically. The things that Musk is doing are not popular among Republican voters in Republican districts.
That's the whole point. I think that Musk could get away with a lot, but he cannot in any way endanger his popularity. When he starts seeing polls coming down based on things that Musk got him to do or that Musk did in his name, that gets his attention. You got to remember, a narcissist is about him. And when you are doing things that...
Are we using talking points from modern women that's mad at their baby daddies now? Seriously? We don't look at it from a business perspective. We're not talking about exactly what's happening in these government agencies. We're not talking about the fraud, waste, and abuse. We're not talking about the power dynamics of how you go about negotiating the best deals or letting people from different agencies have their say and having that storming, norming, forming phase within any organization. We start using words like narcissist. Narcissist might be the most overused word ever. Narcissist, in my opinion, may be, now I could be wrong, but narcissist may be the most overused word inside of any situation today, personally.
In any way injures or besmirches the image of the narcissist, he's got to react. All the logic in the world doesn't matter. Everything else doesn't matter. But wait a minute, he's making me look bad. I don't care how rich he is. And I think that that's what Musk is going to run into here.
What's interesting, though, is that this is a different Trump because the co-presidency has been going on since the beginning, and that doesn't bother.
You see how they throw shots? The co-presidency. Let's let them continue to talk.
Trump. What bothers him and what has always, I think, sustained him politically is this reptilian survival sense that if all the Republicans are voted out of office in 2 years, that is a much bumpier road.
It's a much bumpier road. He knows that it will kill anything that he wants to leave as a legacy. And he has no way of stopping that if the polls keep dropping. I think that we really have to understand Donald Trump, at the end of the day, is about Donald Trump. And he's not going to share that with anyone. Spotlight doesn't care. He knows he's the president and Musk is not the president and never will be. But what he doesn't want to be is an unpopular president with no legacy. He wants the Trump library. I mean, what does he do after he leaves? He can't change the law and run a third time. That's just talk. He wants the library. He wants to be respected. He wants people to want him to come around the world. And if
He's
Musk
going to build Trump Mars.
That's right.
All these rocket men in his pocket.
That's right. I mean,
all right. So this is pretty much going off the rails, and this is pretty stupid. But here's Caroline going in and explaining exactly what happened to Fox between Marco Rubio and Elon Musk.
A busy week on Capitol Hill as House Republicans expect to vote Tuesday on a new spending bill that would keep the federal government open through September 30th.
Without action from Congress, the government will shut down Friday.
Every president, I believe, get a presidential library. Obama's is still being built over in Chicago, a place where he doesn't even live.
And Democrats seem dead set on forcing that to happen.
Here with a preview on what we can expect, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Great to see you this morning, Caroline. Thank you for joining us. So, as you know by now, trying to get Congress to do anything is a little bit like herding cats. But you guys feel pretty comfortable about where you are right now.
Yes, we do. And this week, government funding will run out, and House Republicans have negotiated and led a clean continuing resolution, which President Trump fully supports. And he is counting on Republicans on Capitol Hill to work together to unite to get this clean CR passed. On November 5th, the American people gave Republicans and President Trump a historic, overwhelming mandate to govern. And it would be a gift to the Democrats to allow them to shut down the government and therefore shut down the momentum that President Trump and Republicans have built over the last 7 weeks. So this clean CR, we need it to pass. It effectively curbs spending, freezes spending, while allowing the government to continue to function, allowing ICE agents and Border Patrol to continue their mass deportation effort, allows President Trump's cabinet to continue to identify waste, fraud, and abuse across the federal bureaucracy. So the president supports the CR, and we're hopeful and expect Republicans to get on board so we can pass it and continue moving forward implementing President Trump's agenda.
Caroline, I want to ask you about this one as well. Vice President Vance said that he and his 3-year-old daughter were followed and heckled by pro-Ukrainian protesters. Such an ugly scene. What's your reaction to what he dealt with there?
It was very sad to watch those videos and to hear directly from our vice president about this situation, especially since he was with his daughter on a walk, clearly trying to enjoy private family time. But unfortunately, this is the world and the country that we live in. But I think it's very telling that these protesters were out there hooting and hollering about Ukraine. This is who the Democrat Party has become. It's the party of foreign countries and putting America last. And I applaud the vice president. He is a man of integrity and a family man for engaging with these protesters and trying to explain to them he and President Trump's common sense point of view on this issue. But it was definitely sad to see.
He's a better man than me, because I realized that once people started to get out there to protest, really, unless you're using them for content, you can't negotiate with these people. They already got their minds made up.
Well, you know, Caroline, you and I have had the opportunity to both spend a lot of time around President Trump and Elon Musk. There's a lot of palace intrigue about what's happening in that relationship, what Elon's relationship is like with, you know, the rest of these government officials. Once and for all, can we dispel the rumors that there is some ongoing feud between Elon Musk, President Trump, Secretary of State Marco Rubio? What do you say about that?
I can confirm there is no such feud. In fact, I was at Mar-a-Lago last night with President Trump, Elon Musk, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and all was well.
Oh, okay. So you telling me that they just had a business conversation and it wasn't based off of, oh my God, it's a feud, we all need to go and tear the whole house down and we got beef. Okay. I'm glad that we finally get some insight, because we got the most transparent president of the United States of America inside the office right now.
President convened a meeting last week with members of his cabinet and with Elon to talk about this historic effort that everybody is on board with to identify the waste, fraud, and abuse across our federal government. And the meeting was highly productive. It was an open dialogue and discussion, which is exactly what the president's team should be doing, engaging with one another to implement the president's goals. And so everybody is on board with President Trump's mission and Doge's mission to identify this waste and fraud, to be good stewards of the American taxpayers' money. And both Elon and Marco are doing an incredible job in their respective roles. And that's true of everybody in President Trump's cabinet. He has really put together an extraordinary team. And I think it's pitiful that the mainstream media is working overtime to try to divide President Trump from Elon and from other members of his cabinet. But their attempts are failing. Everybody is working as one team towards one goal, and it's to make America great again.
So she basically just confirmed exactly what I said, is that you always want to debate what's best for the United States of America based off of your purview. If you are, here, let me break it down to you from this lens. And, I always like to make it relatable to the people because I'm a C student, so I want to communicate it from a C student's perspective. All right? So essentially, if you are a person that works in the finance department, you're a bean counter, and you are a person, and I love cars, so usually I'll use a car reference. I use car references for relationships. I use car references for business because I think that it's the easiest way for us to really understand what's going on, right? If you're a engineer and a designer, right? The designers put together a design, and then the engineers come in and then they say, you know what? This is what's possible. This is what's not possible. But the designer then says, you know what? But this is what the people wants. And if we really want to be transformational as a company, then this is what we have to give them. But then the engineers say, you know what? But I don't know if that's possible because it would take us to do so much on this front for us to make your vision possible. So at some point, they clash. The CEO oversees what's happening, and then they come to a conclusion, or they meet in a happy medium or a middle and say, this is what we should do, or this is what we can't do. And then once that component is done, you bring in the accounting, you bring in the bean counters, you bring in the finance people, and they say, okay, well, engineers, what is it going to take to be able to make this happen? So then the engineers say, well, we need this, we need this, we need this, and we need this type of budget, and we need this type of spending power so that we can go over there and get our manufacturers, or we need this, outside manufacturer, we need this supplier, we need this thing, we need this much steel, we want to make it out of this, or we want to make this in carbon fiber. And then the bean counters go in and say, well, we can't do that because in order for us to do that, we'd have to sell the vehicle for $100,000. So where can you find some savings to where we can approve the budget and the R&D for you to be able to put together this vehicle so that we'll ultimately be able to be profitable as a company? Every division has to work together. Every piece of the company has to be in sync because ultimately the only thing that we care about is whether or not we are super profitable as a company, which also gives value back to the shareholders. The shareholders in this instance happen to be the American people. And then you have the CEO who was brought in by the board to kind of oversee and execute the vision and pick and choose what products and what to green light and what to scrap and then what to use as a concept that we then take elements out of it. Maybe you want the headlights to be a little bit different. Maybe you want the design language going forward. Maybe you want a different naming scheme and structure. Maybe we want to lower the price of vehicles. Maybe we want to create halo vehicles that we then have filter back into the design language of all of the vehicles that come after it. But ultimately, there's different things and different competing visions based off of what your expertise is that feed into the vision of what we need to be executing as a company. And the company in this instance is the United States of America. So when you see this rambling, when you see this fighting, when you see these people competing, going back and forth, ultimately it is to do what is in the best interest of America, but it doesn't mean that they're not friends after they leave that board and cabinet meeting. It means that they had to put their business hats on, and now we put our friendship hats on. You get it now? Do you understand it a little bit better? Do you understand why you cannot always be friends with the people that you do business with? Sometimes you have to put your business hats on. When I go out with Rita, right, on Saturdays, or usually it's on Sundays. And we usually do it over breakfast. And most of the time my daughter is there, and sometimes my daughter's out of town or she's taking care of some business and doing something else. But we have a family meeting. And I take off my dad hat, and she takes off her mother hat, and Leslie takes off her daughter hat. And we all look at each other respectively and respectively as business partners, because I need my daughter to do her part in order for me to be able to do what I need to do, and for Rita to do what she need to do. And it all works together, and we understand that everybody doing what they're supposed to do ultimately leads into the best results for everybody else. And so I need them to tell me the truth. I don't want them to tell me what I want to hear. We need to go over this whole thing and this vision about how we going to build this house and what is the budget for this particular thing. And Leslie, I need to get your insight and your understanding on what people are saying from a different lens, as far as, I need your fresh view, your fresh insight, and what is the new competing technologies and how we need to market these things differently and all of this stuff. And so we look at everything from a business perspective. I don't look at my daughter as a child or a 17-year-old when I'm talking to her at breakfast. I'm looking for her to tell me the truth so that I can make the best decision possible. And she may say, Dad, nah, I don't like that. That's not a smart idea. And this extends into everything. This is not just business. We talk about future travel plans. I may be saying, okay, so what international trip are we going to take, right? And then my daughter will say, and this is one of the things that she says, listen, we supposed to go to Dubai this year. And then another person says, well, you know what? I want to go back to Japan. Then I say, okay, well, listen, I know you want to do this. I know you want to do this. What else is on the table, right? And then they say, well, you know what? We haven't all been to Dubai yet. Let's consider Dubai. Okay, cool. Well, what are we flying? We go through, we pull it all up. We all sitting there with our computers. You know what? Emirates is the best experience. But wait a minute. If we all fly Emirates and we go first, then that's going to be $47,000, between $47,000 and $50,000. And then I say, okay, well, that's a great experience. And then Leslie will come in and say, but Dad, I was on TikTok and I was on Instagram and I was looking at them both, and business class and first class is very similar. And I say, okay, well, Rita, you tell me from a financial perspective, what's the difference? Rita says, well, the difference is $17,000 for business class and $47,000 for first class. I say, okay, well, that's a $30,000 difference, $30,000 difference. And then what is the one before that? Well, we can get an economy class for like $4,000 or whatever, so on and so forth. I say, okay, cool. So we're going to eliminate economy class because we care more about experiences, but I need y'all to sell me on the value proposition between paying $30,000 more for first versus business class. We go through, okay, so listen, this is how long the flight is. The flight is going to be like 19 hours. Okay, well, what do we have to fly? Oh, you're going to fly an hour over to Toronto, and then we take the flight. It's going to be an 18-hour flight over to Dubai. Okay, cool. What else is going on? What's the difference? Sell me on the difference between business class and first class. Oh, okay, so first class, you get a shower, but then business class is the same as you go on Delta One. You still get a bed, you still get to lay down. And so they take off the hats that they have as far as the bias of looking at me as the father or the husband, and they start looking at it from a business perspective because they understand that we are now having a different type of discussion instead of the friendships. Now, when we leave the restaurant, everything is still in the past. Everything, the business hats come off, and then we go back to our traditional roles. But I need people around me, whether you work for me, whether you add value, if you are a friend in my life, if you are a person that adds value into my life, if you spend an extended amount of time, if you're a content creator around me, if you are a daughter, no matter what it is, I need people around me that add value into the conversation and is not just there because they want to agree with me and they know when and when not to take the hats off. That's the way that I look at the situation, personally. That's the way that I look at the situation. I look at it differently. All right? Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. And let's say this too, because I know y'all sitting there saying, oh, rich people problems. Listen. I've been running my family. I've been running my businesses. I've been running my studios. I've been running content creation the same way. The same way that I am at work And the same way that I am in corporate is the same way that I am at home. It's the same way that I am in the studio. It's the same way everywhere. You have to take, if you only think that people do this when they get rich and they are not doing this, and that is the reason that they get to certain levels in their life, then you are miscalculating, you are misunderstanding, you truly don't understand how people get to the spaces that they are. You don't get to college and then start to turn it on and then start to, you know what, I'm going to put my studying hat on. No, that's the person that you was in high school. That's the person that you was in middle school. You've been conditioned to be this way. When you get to college, all you're doing is taking a different curriculum, taking a different set of classes, taking a different environment, taking a different university, and implementing it. You need to be running your household as a business. If your budget is $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month, because that is what you take home, then you need to be operating it and doing it like a business. I was the same way when I was making $100,000 a year, $80,000 a year, $70,000 a year. I was running my house the same way as whatever it is that I make now. You have to look at it from a business perspective. Take the numbers or take the situation and then break it down to whatever your respective budget is. And maybe, you know what? I don't want to do it. I can't. Some stuff I reserve and then I break down for the Patreon. So we're just going to go there. If y'all want to tap into the Patreon, link is in the description. Go and watch the video where I taught y'all to budget like a corporation. I think it's like a few videos ago, 2 or 3 videos ago. Go and watch the video where I taught y'all how I budget like a corporation, how I budget like a business. We don't budget like regular everyday people. Go and watch the video inside of the Patreon. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Thomas Taylor says, in my opinion, this sounds like things should be when high-level producers are wanting the best for the organization. A strong, good leader knows when to insert himself and when to let the discussions go. Facts. Shout out to Brock says, past love offering. Nope. Most overused word and phrase is feel. I feel like by a landslide. That's facts. Only poor people protest. Shatoya Thomas says, good morning, Anton in Arizona from Flint. Shout out to my Flintstones. And I want to let you know that I appreciate everything that you do. I found you after the election. I love the breakdown from a C student's perspective. Well, thank you, Shatoya. Well, I will tell you that I believe personally that this is the greatest morning show of all time. And shout out to my new bag chasers and Patreon members. I appreciate y'all for continuing to rock out with the show. Let's pivot. Let's get into the Department of Homeland Security. So apparently they found the leakers that was basically letting the migrants or illegal migrants know what was going on and when they were going to raid. Check it out.
Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem exclusively telling Fox News she is taking action after identifying 2 internal leakers within the agency.
We have identified 2 leakers of information here at the Department of Homeland Security who have been telling individuals about our operations and putting law enforcement lives in jeopardy. We plan to prosecute these 2 individuals and hold them accountable for what they've done. And we're going to continue to do all that we can to keep America safe.
Florida Senator and member of the Homeland Security Committee, Rick Scott, joins us now. Senator Scott, thank you so much for joining us this morning. How important is it that DHS go after, and other agencies for that matter, go after these leakers inside federal government agencies that are undermining the administration's effort to make arrests and deport criminal aliens?
It's very important. Number one, Trump 40.
No, let me answer this question really quickly. Somebody says, Peace Ali TV says, budgeting like a business require higher income levels. I disagree that a salary of $70K can be used to use the corporate budget, as you can't anticipate unknowns, and being very strict will cause mental distress. Well, that's because you're not a part of the Patreon, and so I know that you believe that because you haven't actually seen me break it down in real time to the people. And so you can't disagree with something that you don't know. You can't disagree with something that you've never seen. You can't disagree with something that you've never experienced before. That's why I do it for the people, because I've been doing it for a long time and why I show the receipts. So you can disagree with something that you're not familiar with, but until you do become familiar with it, all you do is you sound like a fool. Let's continue over and let's address the leakers.
7 is going to be known for 3 things: common sense, accountability, and transparency. And so what Kristi Noem is doing here is saying, who in the right mind wants to keep criminals in this country, and why would somebody at Homeland Security want to help criminals that are killing American citizens? I mean, we just watched, Laken Riley's parents the other day. I mean, who in their right mind? So she's going to hold people accountable. I've been in the Senate 6 years. There has been no accountability. This is what's going to happen now. There's going to be accountability all across this country. If you're illegal, you don't have a right to be in this country. You don't have a right. Come in here legally. I like legal immigration. If we need to work on our legal immigration system, the Democrats should help us. But this idea that we want criminals and terrorists and narco traffickers, we want more drugs, and these Democrats want to defend it, the Democrats are being known for exactly what the American public don't want.
Right.
The American public want transparency and accountability.
Anybody that is leaking information, in my opinion, because it's not just enough for you to get fired. It's not just enough for you to get fired. That's like insider trading info. That's anything that harms or puts consumers or puts ICE agents or put federal agents in the pathway of destruction. Anything and anybody that is doing that, anybody that is leaking information, anybody that's putting somebody under duress, I think that they need to be arrested and prosecuted to the furthest extent of the law. Because not only does it put other people in harm's way, not only does it allow for criminals and migrants that is here illegally and committing crimes illegally to continue to do so, what it also does is it takes advantage of a position that otherwise you would not have. So you are privy to a bunch of new information or information that the rest of the general public don't have, and you're using it in a negative way. You're using it to ultimately do the things that's worse for America. You're using it against the agenda of the president of the United States of America, who was elected by the people to obviously execute on this premise. So when you do that, I believe personally that you should be arrested and prosecuted to the furthest extent of the law. And they did it knowingly. And they continued to do it even after Tom Homan and Trump and everybody else warned them and said, listen, for all of these leakers, do you know why they no longer do ride-alongs? Remember when Trump first got into office, right after Inauguration Day, and Tom Homan, it was given unprecedented access to reporters and people like that for them to be able to come and do ride-alongs to see exactly so that we operate in transparency with this government. Because I will say, no matter how you feel about Trump, the one thing that you can't say is that he's not the most transparent president of the United States of America of all time. He's leveraging and using social media and allowing for reporters, even if they disagree with him, to go and view and participate in the places and the things that he says that he's going to do for the American people. He's been visible. He's been transparent. He's been allowing for people to ask him questions that otherwise would have been censored and silenced, unlike the Biden administration. And also what he was doing was he was allowing for reporters to see and participate in and observe and report on, regardless of whether they agree with him or not, what was going on when they go and arrest these illegal migrants that's inside of our country. And then he would come back and do an interview and add the context. He would come in, do an interview, and add the context. And they messed that up. Because then they were taking this information and giving it over to the people that they were supposed to be observing in the name of transparency. They started using the same information and then giving it out to the people, or leveraging their resources and tapping into people and warning people prior to the ICE agents coming to arrest these people that were giving out the information to prevent them from being arrested in the first place. And so they messed it up. They messed it up. Now they can't even do ride-alongs no more. We just got to do reports.
And of course, if you're an employee working for the federal government, working for the executive branch, and you're thwarting the efforts of the executive branch, you probably should no longer be working for the federal government. But it's funny, we're in this upside-down world where you have people behaving like this. You have Democrats today who are weighing the idea of a government shutdown in order to protest the cuts being made by DOJ. I mean, talk about lost in the wilderness.
They are lost. Everybody comes into my office every week and asks for more money. And here's what I explain to them. We've had a 2% increase in population in the last 5 years and a 53% increase in spending. We are spending $2 trillion more than we take in. Inflation will not go away, and interest rates will not come down until we balance our budget. And there is so much waste. Thank God for what Elon Musk and his team are doing. They're showing this massive, just complete waste, and exactly what the American public has seen. And the average person says, "It's like I don't spend my money like this. I would not spend my money like this." We had a hearing the other day, and I asked two people that are supportive of foreign aid. I said, "Okay, so I have to go back to Florida and explain what does a citizen of Florida get for this foreign aid?" They couldn't do it. They could not explain what an American citizen gets out of this foreign aid. I'm sure there's something that's good that's there, but they couldn't explain it. That's exactly the problem we've got. Our government is unexplainable now.
Right. So obviously, people are applauding what they're seeing out of the executive branch, but there's still a lot that the legislative branch can do from your end. What are some of the things that you're looking at from a congressional standpoint to buttress these cuts and make them permanent?
Well, number one, we've got to balance the budget.
Yeah.
Number two is everything that Elon Musk and his team are finding and agency heads are finding, we've got to take a rescission package from the White House and we've got to pass it to eliminate the spending. So we've got the opportunity this coming week. If we don't come up with a continuing resolution, then we're going to have government shut down. On Friday. I know many Democrats are saying they want government shutdown. I don't want government shutdown. Right. I want accountability. I want a balanced budget. I balanced the budget in Florida. Florida had not balanced its budgets. Most states don't balance the budget. They just keep borrowing money like the federal government. I balance it every year by doing exactly what Elon Musk is doing. Guess what? We went line by line like you probably do with your credit card. You look through there and say, hey, I didn't spend this. I didn't
every family in America
I didn't buy
does.
This.
Right, exactly. So
everybody does it.
And I want to get to this one final thing with you. I know that you're on the cutting edge of wanting to lock the clocks and end daylight savings time forever. So why do we need to lock the clocks and end daylight savings time?
Well, first off, in Florida, we like our sunshine. We love being out on the beach. We love playing sports. We love all these things. And people are just sick and tired of going back and forth twice a year. You change the clock. So they're tired of it. When I was governor, I passed a bill that if the federal government allowed us, we were going to stay on daylight savings time. I have a federal bill, Sunshine Protection Act, which say we'll stay on daylight savings time. President Trump has been supportive of locking the clock. And I hope we can get it done quickly so we stop this constantly going back and forth every few months.
I do know that you have to go through and we have to balance the federal budget no matter what. No matter who it hurts. You can't just completely tank the company. You can't tank America. You can't just keep spending $1 to $2 trillion more every single year. And we paying $1 to $2 trillion in interest every single year. We can't do that. If we continue to do that, if we continue to place that, then we absolutely are going to ruin the company, or we're going to ruin America. I always say the company, but we're going to ruin America for our children, and our children deserve better. Our children deserve for us to be better stewards. They actually deserve better Congress members, so we need to continue to vote for Congress. But they deserve better. They absolutely deserve better, and I think that Elon Musk is doing a phenomenal job. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let me read some of these super chats, and then we'll move over to the next part of the show because I want to address Jasmine Crockett, Scott Jennings, and Gavin Newsom. That is what we have coming up next. Brock says, makes me cringe every time someone says, I feel like, it immediately makes me question if they are speaking logically or from feelings specifically. Probably from feelings, but sometimes both. Michael Russell says, big bro, you give so much game. It's wild how much I learn at work within a span of 2 hours. Shout out to you, big dog. Maurice is in the building, says, I'm late, but you are 100% right about dude leaving his daughter in the car. First of all, dude was warned about going to that car wash. He is a coward by putting his daughter's life in danger. Yeah, that was from Friday, right? Friday? CZ says, Anton, they think on that level, budgeting 101 is lost on most. Lost on most. Avenue 77 says electricity is about to be 25% more in some upstates. Doug Ford, Canada, is moving forward with tariffs. He was just live on Global News. We'll address it tomorrow. I'll watch it and I'll go on it. Always looking forward to your videos, AD, and thank you. Thank you, Rio's Family Garden. I appreciate you. Jason A-Team says these people saying they cannot budget like a business with $70K a year is insane. Don't even get me started. I make much less, maybe about $50,000, and I live pretty comfortably. Lower your lifestyle, stop wasting money, and you will be just fine. It's not that hard. I agree. They would rather shut down than be audited. Well, they hate Trump so much that they'll kill their own situation and destroy America because they hate Trump so much. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Let's get into my favorite rat that's happening right now. Jasmine Crockett. I call her Yeah Man. Remember when I first started having a conversation about Kamala Harris? That was in 2021, and I said that's my lady, that's my girlfriend. I'm going to call her Cam Cam. I call her Cam Cam. And lo and behold, in 2024, 3 to 4 years later, we wound up finding ourselves in a kerfuffle where we had to get her up out of office. We facing the same situation with Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine, or Yamin, I call her Yamin. Yamin Crockett has been on a tour, a podcasting tour, and more importantly, she doesn't really ever sit in Dallas and do her job. I see her on MSNBC on a regular basis, CNN. I see her on the Breakfast Club. I see her on a podcast tour. And they're basically content creators now, right? And so Jasmine Crockett recently did an interview where she said it's legal to come over the border illegally. And I wanted to play the full interview and get the context. Again, make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's see what Yamin got to say.
Congresswoman, it's good to see you. As I said, we're less than a week away from that government shutdown deadline. What are the Democrats going to do?
Listen, the Democrats are united as it relates to the American people. I want to be clear that this really is not partisan. I know that it looks very partisan.
No matter how homely she looks, sometimes she switched from being ratchet to homely. They keep that dog eyelashes on. Okay, listen, before we get into Jasmine Crockett and what she's going to say about illegal migrants and Trump, and
they put out official guidance saying do not go home and do town halls. And so right now the Democrats are carrying the load for not only our constituency, but for theirs too, because clearly they don't have the answers for their constituents, which the honest to goodness truth is that they don't answer to their constituents. They only have decided that they're going to answer to Elon Musk and Donald Trump.
So this week, we saw the great Congressman Al Green stand up during Trump's joint address to Congress. And he ended up being censured by not only your Republican colleagues, but also 10 of your fellow Democrats. I got to ask, what was there to gain from Democrats siding with Republicans on this issue?
I have no idea. You did not see my photo there. So you know that I absolutely stood with the amazing Texan that I currently serve with. Listen, here's the reality for me. I don't think that really anyone should have decided that they should supplant their own judgment on an 80-year-old black man, especially as we are coming up on, or actually even today, the celebration of Bloody Sunday, or the commemoration, I should say, of Bloody Sunday. It wasn't a celebration for sure. And, you know, this is someone who lived through the civil rights era and saw the dogs and saw the hoses and saw the police bludgeon and bloody people. And so he understands history in a little bit of a different way than probably anybody else or most other people sitting in that chamber. And so to decide that we were going to cast judgment on what he was feeling as the president decided to get up there and lie, as we know he always does, and say that he had a mandate. We know that he did not run on this idea of cutting out Medicaid or cutting Social Security. In fact, every time we said it, the Republicans said that we were lying. Every time we...
Trump absolutely did not lie, and he did have a mandate from the American people to cut waste from the federal government and to audit every single division of the federal government. And the fact of the matter is, yes, we are going to cut off people that are not supposed to be getting Social Security, especially if it's dead people on the rolls that's still on the rolls, and we don't even have the systems that's supposed to be set up to identify when people are removed. We 100% are supposed to go through and make sure that Social Security is solvent. Trump never said that he would cut Social Security, but see, they use these terms to trigger these liberals because they know that people are too ignorant to go and look at the context or the research. And so when he says that he's going to audit to make sure that Social Security is solvent, or he's going to audit to make sure that it's not people that's not supposed to be on the rolls are still getting payments, then that's exactly what the mandate is for. And 45 days in, now we are at the point where we can go through and we can move into the next agency and the next agency, because we've set up the blueprint to ensure that people that are supposed to be there, that people that are supposed to be getting payments are getting payments. Now, it's still a Ponzi scheme. It 100% is a Ponzi scheme. But he did get a mandate from the American people to make sure that the government is running efficiently, because we should not be giving our taxpayer dollars over to people that is not supposed to be getting the money. Y'all want to just continue to fund the corruption, the fraud, the ugliness, the people that's not supposed to be there. And I know for a fact that there is a lot of government workers that is out here finessing and don't do nothing on a daily basis. Most of y'all, to be honest with y'all, most of y'all are overpaid and underworked. And you could sit here and talk that nonsense because y'all be over there making TikToks inside of y'all government offices, and you be trying to act like you doing something. You lying, you finessing, you overpaid, you underworked, and y'all be spending y'all little precious time, and y'all subsidized by American taxpayer dollars, and you finessing. 5 of y'all jobs can be done by one person, and they still can take lunch breaks and get out of there on time. Y'all is in there for, come on, man. Don't play that game with me. No, I know how it go. I know. In the post office. Bruh, in the mailing facilities, they be chilling. They be playing cards. They be having a good time. In private industries, they be chilling and having a good time most of the time. And as long as you get your time in, as long as you get past the probationary period, they say you set for life because you're going to be protected against being fired. Now, most of us is at-will employees, and so we got to earn what it is that we keep on a regular basis, and we got to prove that we've been efficient and sufficient for all the time, or else, no warning, you could just get laid off. But there is a mandate from people to operate more efficiently while at the same time making sure that American industries is protected. That's exactly what Trump ran on.
Said that they were looking to Project 2025. They said we were lying. And now we know that the liar in chief did exactly what he's always done, which is lied. And for whatever reason, the American people did not trust us when we told them exactly.
Somebody said, what's wrong with having a good time at work? Because we don't pay you because the taxpayers are the ones that's paying your salaries. It's not about having a good time. Listen, if you enjoy what you do, that's one thing, but don't be playing spades and dominoes on our dime. And then getting mad when he came in and said that he gonna find out what you want to do. And y'all don't even want to send bullet points on an email to get a pulse check. So lazy.
What was going to happen. So, I voted, obviously, not to do this to Al Green, not to mention, as we sat there, one of the things that no one is talking about is that Marjorie Taylor Greene was not, she was violating House rules as well. We are not allowed to wear any hats whatsoever, no matter what. Yet she sat there on that same day and she was wearing a hat. She was wearing a mask.
Somebody in the Republican Party was wearing a hat. Listen, Dallas, y'all gotta come to the front of the congregation. Dallas gotta come to the front of the congregation. This woman is comparing somebody disrupting Trump and continuing to yell in the middle or the beginning of a speech, in which they set that up to do, and them holding up signs and T-shirts and walking out in the middle of a speech and all of this stuff, to somebody wearing a hat. Dallas, y'all got to do better.
hat, and that was out of decorum. And no one said anything to her.
Well, the hypocrisy abounds. We know that not only Marjorie Taylor Greene, but also Lauren Boebert used to routinely shout out at President Biden during the State of the Union addresses, and they never faced a censure from not only
tell
the
them to do they should have did their job. We not going to have any raucous, unruly people inside of Trump's speech. Now, Biden may have warranted the disrespect, and a House member may not have gotten control and made sure that everything was taken care of. But listen, let me tell you, we're not having that no more. We're going to have order and respect for the President of the United States of America.
Democrats, but from their own party. Let's switch gears a little bit because you have been incredibly busy in Washington this week. You're a part of the House Oversight Committee. There was a hearing this week where the mayors of 4 so-called sanctuary cities were grilled. I want to play a very quick bit of something that you definitely had to share during that hearing. Take a listen.
Have any of you been made aware of any immigrant that has had 34 felony convictions that has still been able to roam around in your cities? Anyone?
No, ma'am.
I mean, Congresswoman, it's true. I just talked about the hypocrisy from the GOP.
I can't wait for MSNBC to go out of business. I can't wait. This is why MSNBC, Joy Reid has got removed. Now we got this woman on here. She'll probably get fired at some point. People having to take a pay cut. I can't wait for it. But we got to look at it from both sides, right?
So quick to want to round up people on the streets. They don't really even bother to care, if they look brown or black or whatever, it's okay. But in this instance, you do have a 34 felony convicted felon that lives in the Oval Office. If they need the address, I'm happy to give it to them. But what is going on here in terms of trying to kind of exact some type of pressure and a pound of flesh out of these mayors?
Yeah, so first of all, shout out to all the mayors, and I am saying all the mayors. It was definitely interesting to listen to the mayor of New York, but nevertheless, I will say—
Hey, you see how they hate Eric Adams now? All of the Democrats has ousted Eric Adams. That's why she said it was definitely interesting hearing the mayor of New York, because Eric Adams answered the questions and he was truthful and he was cooperative for the most part. What was going on as far as the Congress people questioning all of these Democratic sanctuary city mayors. And now Democrats look at Eric Adams as a leper, even though Biden is the one that threw him under the bus in the first place. And he was the one that mandated that they take in all of these illegal migrants. Now they hate Eric Adams.
that the mayors as a whole, they really did kind of stand their ground against what they were attempting to do to them. And so I really do applaud them. They were coming up with baseless statistics on crime. And literally they brought the mayor of Boston, Mayor Wu, who is absolutely ranked as the safest large city in the country. And they were trying to lecture her on crime and immigrants. It was—
No, what they were trying to do was hold her accountable for the fact that they were hiding migrants inside of the Boston airport, and she's justifying it. Has nothing to do with whether or not the city is safe. They asked her how much she spent on illegal migrants of taxpayer dollars. We should be able to get some visibility into that. And then she said, oh, we don't track that statistic. We don't track that. Absolutely, they were hiding migrants, illegal migrants inside of the Boston airport because they are a sanctuary city and nobody wants to address it. And so this is gaslighting at its finest. This is gaslighting at its finest. It is a culture in which we continue to promote and perpetuate and act like that it's cool for us to use taxpayer dollars to justify people that are over here illegally. But check it out what she's about to say right now.
It was absolutely insane. And so that was why I brought out the hypocrisy, and to keep them from trying to come after me and say, oh, I'm engaging in personalities by talking about Trump. I did not mention his name. So I decided that I would work through or around the rules and make sure that I laid out that as they are so outraged by these immigrants and the crime that they're bringing And not to mention city law enforcement, local law enforcement, they are always going after crime. And they don't say, oh, you committed a murder? Oh, but you're an immigrant? Well, let me let you go, right? So they are always focused on crime. They continue to say things like the illegals and that they broke the law coming in. But what they're not telling the American people is that it is a civil violation. It is not a criminal violation to enter the country illegally. It's not a criminal. It's a crime. It's not a crime, which is why.
She's saying that it's Jasmine Crockett has gone so far off the reservation. Dallas, come on front of the congregation. Jasmine Crockett is saying that it's not a crime. It is not to illegally come across the border.
Why they're so frustrated, because they really want our local law enforcement to. Which is why they're so frustrated. It's not a criminal. It's a crime. It's not a crime, which is why.
It's not a crime for somebody to illegally cross into our country. So it's no point, honestly, it's no point in us having border patrol, right? Because these are just imaginary borders. We shouldn't have legal status. There's no point to have a green card. There's no point in any of that type of stuff. We should just let people do what they want to do. Now, in other countries, you can get shot. There are countries where you can literally lose your life for going across the border illegally. No rules, no structure, no none of that. If you get here, you should be able to vote. You should be able to take advantage of taxpayer dollars. You should be able to get a job. You should be able to drive. You should be able to go to the schools. You should get educated. You then can have children and have birthright citizenship. You should be able to do anything you want to do. You should be treated just like me and you, who are legal citizens. Now, again, remember that we are not against legal migration into the country. We want people here that are the best and brightest from other places that contribute into what we got going on. Jasmine Crockett is justifying this nonsense by saying that it is not a crime to come over into the country illegally. Now, how many of y'all liberals? Because I know it's a lot of y'all. I know that y'all like to watch. I know that we having a conversation. How many of you guys actually agree with this? Because I know that you guys like to go back and forth, and it seems like we kind of have a maybe 70-30 split of people that are conservative that watch this versus the people that are liberal. And so I want to give you a chance to explain yourself. How do you justify this rhetoric? Do you want, as a person that is a liberal in this country, or a person that vote Democrat, or a part of the 92%, or a part of the 77, 78%, do you want or do you justify people coming into this country illegally? Are you cool with it? Because I noticed that y'all real quiet when she say crazy stuff like this, and you act like it's not even a big deal. It's not even a thing. Super quiet, crazy quiet, just silent, nothing but a whisper. How do y'all justify this woman saying some of the stuff that she says?
They're so frustrated because they really want our local law enforcement to go out and round up people when they could be looking out for the murderers and the sexual abusers as well as the robbers. They want them to go and round people up on civil accusations. And so that's why I wanted to point out, don't give me this fake outrage about criminals roaming our streets when you guys stand 10 toes down for the biggest criminal that we have ever seen go into the White House.
Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. I'm going to go ahead and read super chats, and then we'll move over to Scott Jennings, and then we'll also talk about Gavin Newsom, all right? Jason A-Team says, these people saying that they can't budget like a business with $70,000 a year is insane. I make much less, maybe about $50K, and live pretty comfortably. I read that one. Thank you. I appreciate you, big dog. Thank you for holding me down. Also, Al Green is black? Since when? Chris Cunningham says the level of delusion is asinine. JG says, actually, she was allowed to wear a hat, the same one that she's currently wearing. A hair hat? AD, we got Republican Sheldon Daniels on deck in Dallas. She's done. Avenue 77 says, all these horrible mayors and governors, I call them hyenas in the city, only on We at 10 p.m. Whiskey Pierre says, Anton, shalom blessings, sir. This is witchcraft. Rush King 19 came in and says, liberal logic, crossing the border illegally isn't a crime. It's a civil issue. But if I'm in your yard, that's in the U.S. and it's a misdemeanor. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get into Scott Jennings. So I find Scott Jennings to be refreshing. I'm surprised that they even keep him on CNN. Scott Jennings held a liberal congresswoman accountable for their marketing strategy, and it turned into them doing the same thing that they always do, start whining about Trump. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. This is what happened on CNN the other day, y'all.
Congresswoman, that TikTok trend, I don't even know where to begin. I'm not sure why this is necessary. I mean, there is like serious stuff happening in this country, but that seems to be just inviting ridicule. So when you think about...
Now, before we get into this video, even the women that are liberal on the panel are telling them, because they got this marketing strategy where they basically are employing a content creator to create or direct them, the Democrats now, this is what they've resorted to fight back against Republicans and conservative people, especially considering how bad they've been losing in the poll, and their popularity is plummeting to less than 20%. Some places they're saying that the popularity of most Democrats is under 20%. They've now turned to other content creators to create marketing strategies and campaigns, and this is why you see all of the Democrats doing and saying the same messages and being recorded, and they're paying for this. They're paying content creators, one in particular that have over 7 million followers. They're paying content creators to then come in and create marketing campaigns for Democrats, not having a different message, not reaching out to the people, not moving further towards the middle instead of going so far left. They're having marketing campaigns, and one of the marketing campaigns is called the Choose Your Fighter campaign, where they jump in and it's almost like Mortal Kombat, or you know how the screen is where you pick your player and the player is standing there, or they all have the same message. I played it a little bit for you guys where they all saying the same thing and reading from the same script, and then somehow, some way, somebody was to put it all together. And so basically they're telling the American people, hey, choose your liberal fighter. And even the liberals on CNN, even the people on CNN, this woman, she said, listen, we got real issues that's happening. We need to really come together and figure out exactly what we need to do for the American people. We need to actually solve for the problems that's happening in this country. What the heck are y'all doing with this marketing campaign? That's basically what she's asking her and bringing it all up to speed on what's going on. All right, let's continue.
TikTok as a trend, we are trying to reach out to different people and different voters. And the woman who produced this is an influencer with 7 million followers. So this is lighthearted, it's fun. And every time you do something creative, you're going to get criticism, right? But I actually applaud them for trying to do something different. And here's the reality. 7 million followers, whether you think it's cringe or you like it, we're on CNN on a Thursday night, and we're talking about it on national.
Now, let me say something. All good publicity for a politician in particular. If you're a content creator, it's beautiful. Part of a content creator's job is to take a position that then yields conversation, meaning that we want as many people talking about us as possible. And in most instances, all visibility is good visibility. Maybe if you're not a political leader, maybe if you're not Umar Johnson, I consider him a content creator. I don't consider him a mouthpiece for black people. But the point is that if you are a politician that's trying to reserve your seat inside of Congress, right? You don't want this type of negative publicity. It's not just about getting people to talk about you. You want people to talk about you in a positive way or to galvanize your base to vote for you, not just to talk about you, because talking about you could also be negative. See, it's different for content creators, and this is why they need to hire the right marketing people. Whether you hate me or you love me, the fact that you're speaking about me still keeps the algorithm doing what the algorithm doing. So the engagement is the goal. Engagement. I don't care if you hit a dislike. I don't care if you hit a like. I just like the fact that you like to watch me and then compete. And the more that you talk and the more that you chat and the more that you go back and forth, even people that announce, man, Anton, I don't like you, that's a blessing. Because it all translates the same financially. It actually benefits me more. So it's a difference between being a content creator and a politician. And just because you hire somebody with 7 million followers to create a campaign for you does not mean that their message resonate with the American people that then engages them to go and vote for you. Now, you would think that these Congress people are smart enough to recognize that. And so she's so busy touting the person that has 7 million followers that they paid to create this campaign for them instead of focusing on what's resonating with the American people that will cost for them to vote for you.
Whether you think it's cringe or you like it, we're on CNN on a Thursday night and we're talking about it on national TV.
But I guess my question is, to what end? I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. I mean, maybe you will get 7 million eyeballs, but what is the point?
I am not accustomed to helping your party do anything.
Yep.
But let me give you some advice. This was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And if you read the comments today, Lord have mercy. Look, scrambling for new social media and communication strategies is not a replacement for fixing what's actually wrong. Your party has a 21% approval rating right now, congressional Democrats.
Well, let's talk about fixing what's wrong. Donald Trump is doing nothing for the American people.
And he has a 50%.
Why is it that Democrats, the first thing that y'all do and y'all resort to, when somebody is, Scott is actually trying to help you guys. Scott is actually trying to help you guys. I was glad that she burst out like this because this tells me that you're not receptive to constructive criticism. See, it's one thing to just hold you accountable. It's another thing to give you constructive criticism. Scott is actually giving you guys a blueprint and saying, hey, listen, just because you guys is doing it doesn't mean that it actually yields result. You guys are plummeting every single day. And you know what they do? Every time. The same thing that they did in the election. What did I tell y'all that was happening during the election? That most of the people that were voting for Kamala Harris was voting against Donald Trump. But at the same time, every time that they mentioned his name, instead of mentioning theirs, they became more visible for Donald Trump. It created a whirlwind of free media because people were promoting Trump instead of promoting themselves. If the only thing that I have to say is how much I don't like you instead of how much I'm doing that's right that you need to pay attention to where I should resonate and stick in your mind so you can vote for me and you can actually embrace my message, I'm promoting my enemy instead of promoting me. That's why I don't necessarily care to do a whole lot of videos talking about what other people got going on. Because I'm not here for you, I'm here for me. If it doesn't benefit me, what am I talking about? And Democrats have lost. They have completely lost their mind. They lost the message. The first thing that they've been trained to do is talk about Donald Trump. The conversation is why y'all got a bad media campaign. You know what? I don't care about our 20-point, but Donald Trump, I don't like him. Okay, keep doing what you're doing.
Approval rating.
But he's doing nothing for the American people.
And so
he's not lowering the cost of living. He tells lies.
Fix the policy and leave the gimmicks behind.
Yes, and let's make policy.
Okay,
so
let me
finish
here. Let the Congresswoman respond to that because I think
what is important right now to the American people. President Trump promised to lower the cost of living.
What are we talking about? She says, to what end are you guys creating these campaigns that y'all getting destroyed about inside of y'all comments and from the American people? She's now talking about what Trump is doing. Carry on.
He has done none of that. And the Trump administration and Elon Musk are demonstrating one thing with all these random cuts. They don't care if you get sick. They don't care if you get injured. They don't care if you can't pay your bills. And they don't care if you're safe. All these random cuts they're making in all these departments that they don't even hardly know very well are hurting the American people. How is putting veterans out of work lowering the cost of living? How is taking away food from children lowering the cost of living?
That's a sassy
How is
one.
kicking women off of health care who get Medicaid lowering the cost of living? So I know that these things are distractions that we're talking about, but why won't Donald Trump deliver on his promises? Because he lies. That's why. They're doing nothing to support the American people.
Why would or should the American people trust Democrats to lower the cost of living after the last 4 years?
Facts.
We have created more jobs.
No, cost of living. You brought it up. You said Trump's not delivering. I just want to know why we should trust Democrats who skyrocketed inflation. Why would I trust you?
I don't think it's
why would I
about.
trust
I
you?
don't think it's about. You all won.
Yeah.
So now fix it. You said you were going to fix it.
We've been doing it for 40 days.
Okay, right.
But you try to take a victory lap for the CHIPS and Science Act, for all these investments coming into the United States. So you're either going to take credit or not. Donald Trump is a president. He promised a lower cost of living. He is cutting jobs across the board from civil servants who have to support their families.
From civil servants that are being paid by taxpayers. That contributes
Government
into the
jobs.
federal budget.
You want more government jobs.
No, actually, I want jobs that actually help people. Do you know what civil servants do? They keep our air clean. They keep our water clean. They keep our food safe.
They keep our food safe. You know, one of the things that Trump said during his speech to Congress is today our food is worse than ever before. And these big companies and these food companies and these pharmaceutical companies are more profitable than ever before. If you think that I trust, and he said a stat, and I forgot what the statistic was, but it was 10,000 people or something like that had ADHD back in the day, but now it's 1 out of every 36. They got diseases, ADHD. We've spent trillions on cancer research. My God. Magic Johnson ain't even got HIV no more. We've spent trillions, in which the overwhelming majority of what you contribute into these organizations go towards administrative costs and salaries. Trillions of dollars on cancer research. We're no closer to solving for what's causing it as well as how to alleviate ourselves from having it. And more people are dying every single day. And you want us to believe that with all of the money that we continue to contribute, both in salary and in donations and in study and research and development, you want us to believe that we are actually benefiting from democratic policies and allowing for bloated government to continue to take place? Get the heck out of here, bro. Am I choppy? Let me see something. Am I choppy? Y'all might have to You might have to refresh this if you're choppy. Somebody said I'm good. If the audio is choppy, just refresh and come back in.
They take taxpayer money to
You know
fund
what?
the whole
Oh,
thing.
let me
It's a
They
lot.
also pay taxes.
Yes.
Wait, you're saying they take taxes?
It takes taxpayer money to fund it.
It
All
does.
of them.
But they're employed by
This
the
is the
government.
Democratic plan.
They are
More
employed.
government
They are
jobs.
jobs for the American people, and they're not getting rich off of it. Go ahead,
Let's not forget, yes, Donald Trump and the Republicans won,
Yeah.
but the Democrats severely lost. And you're digging your hole deeper,
But you're saying
especially in a
severely?
week. Especially in a week after the debacle of what happened during the president's speech, the embarrassment. I don't know who's creating this strategy, but believe me, no one is getting on board. The Democrats have lost. I would argue the Democrats are far more exclusionary. If you don't agree with them, you're canceled. If you say something inappropriate, you're out. And there's never a coming back in. The Democrats have told the American people, you agree with us, or we don't want you.
Their money.
Y'all, listen. Before we go over to Gavin Newsom, I would say this. Y'all need to take a step back. All of these Democrats, all of the liberals, all of the people that support the Liberal Party, all of y'all Congress people, y'all got to take a step back and y'all got to come back to the front of the congregation and develop a new strategy and come up with something different, because what y'all got going on right now is not working. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let me read a few of these super chats, and then we're going to go over to Gavin Newsom, all right? Let me see something. Give me a second. I want to see something real quick. If you guys are having problems with the audio, that's not on my side. That is on YouTube side. Leave and come back, all right? The Cook Up with Vaughn Free says they found a new Joy Reid. Shaking my head. This is unbelievable. What happened to Joy Reid? What does she got going on? I thought she had something new. On a Mission to Thrive says, shout out to you. I got a super sticker for you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Yahweh says, so our president who is trying to save you and your money is a criminal. I got it, Jazz. You are right. Sarcasm, Anton. What is she talking about? I don't know what she got going on. If they have a choose your fighter, is Mayor Shang Tao unlocked? Nope. She is, you can probably have to get her in a bonus pack. CNN done turned to the Diary of a Mad Black Woman show because they be on there loud and wrong every single day. Somebody sent Auntie down. Forsaken Archives goes in to say, when Dems talk about Trump, it's like Dirty Macking to a chick. About the bad boys she's going to date anyway. It's just advertisement. I agree with you. J-Dub says Democrats are grasping at straws. They have no real solutions to real problems. Why aren't they working with the president to fix the country? Shout out to Deacon Weasel says they so dumb they messing up the live stream. Shout out to y'all. Listen, we having a couple of technical issues, but we good. We going to fix that. We going to make sure that we good. Make sure y'all tune into the after hours. Well, not after hours. The Q show tonight. And then tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Last thing that I want to talk about before I let y'all go is Gavin Newsom. Now, I did a couple of videos over the weekend. I decided not to drop because it would have took too much approval to get him on, on the Anton Daniels channel. But Gavin Newsom recently dropped a podcast, which I believe has been pushed way down on the algorithm, so they're going to have to do something about that. But one of the people that he interviewed was Charlie Kirk. Now, Charlie Kirk is a conservative, to say the least, but he's reasonable and he's logical, and he's also over Turning Point USA. And I was very surprised to see Gavin Newsom pull in Charlie Kirk as his first guest as an interview for his podcast. Now, obviously, some people seen a couple different clips. I also talked about a clip that happened on Friday that was dropped on Friday. But then the actual podcast was released over this weekend. And then Charlie Kirk was pulled on Fox News to have a conversation about whether or not Gavin Newsom plans to run for president of the United States of America. But before I give my thoughts, I want to let you see what Charlie Kirk has to say about it. And then I'll give you my insight after watching the podcast, what I think about Gavin Newsom.
Turning Point founder, CEO Charlie Kirk. Charlie, great to have you. So last night, I knew you were on the show tonight. I tuned in and I was listening to the podcast, and I didn't get through all of it. But first of all, you were very gracious. You were very nice. You could have gone at him really, really hard. You did it in a really nice way. And I know Gavin too well. I've interviewed Gavin. I moderated, I think you brought it up, I moderated the debate with DeSantis. And I have tried to reason with this man, and he does not listen, ever. Maybe, is this the tipping point for him? Did you get the feeling he really wants to change?
I don't know. I think he wants to be president, Sean, more than anything else on the planet. I think you can agree he has more political ambition than almost anybody in the Democrat Party. And I think he understands that the entire country is moving center right and is accelerating at a rapid pace. In fact, we are course correcting after 4 failed years under Joe Biden and all of the woke stuff and the anti-common sense movement. Gavin Newsom had me on his podcast, and I was shocked all of a sudden where he decided to diverge away from the orthodox opinion in the Democrat Party, which is as simple as saying that it's not fair that a biological man can compete in female sports. Now, number one, I don't believe that he actually has any heartfelt beliefs in this. I think it's purely political transactional. However, everybody in the audience should understand this means that we are winning at such a rapid pace that the governor of the largest state in the country, the largest Democrat state, who obviously wants to be president, has to adjust his policies against the base of the party to even be taken seriously to run for president in 2028.
Okay.
Now, I consider Gavin Newsom to be the worst governor of the United States of America over California. They went from a budget surplus, in which obviously they have some of the highest tax rates in America outside of New York, to a budget deficit and suffering massively. And when I say massively, I mean massively. All right? Now, with that being said, if you watch the podcast, Gavin Newsom seems to be distancing himself from the far left. Let me say it again. Gavin Newsom, in my opinion, and I said that this was going to happen, I said that he was eventually going to try to become president of the United States of America when he was doing those photo ops, when he was acting like he was cleaning up the streets of San Francisco, when he was out there, bringing cameras with them in order to make sure that he cleaned up homelessness, and he seemed like he was a working leader and he was leading from the front, prior to him actually bending the knee to Trump when they had those fires just a couple of months ago. Gavin Newsom was already putting himself in a position because he knew that Trump was going to win president of the United States of America. But in order for him to become president, he has to become more moderate. He has to come into the middle. He has to be a Democrat from yesteryear. And I hate this because it's actually a smart idea. As bad as he is as a governor, Gavin Newsom seems to be the only Democrat. And Charlie Kirk was giving him the blueprint. He said, man, listen, what is wrong with y'all? Why do y'all become so illogical between this Democrat over here and this Democrat over here, where y'all can't even say that it's not right for a man to be in a woman's sport or for men to be in women's bathrooms? And Gavin Newsom actually conceded. He tried to justify his conceding by saying, well, these people are suicidal and I don't want them to mentally or emotionally be broken as a result of it. But it is not right, and it's overly messed up about how uncompetitive it is for a man to participate in women's sports. And all of the Democrats said, what? Now it's up to us to be able to see the chameleon in Gavin Newsom. But the point is the fact that he's even, unlike this last Congresswoman that was just talking to Scott Jennings, for example, the fact that he's listening and he's at least trying to say, even if he does something differently, which we know Democrats are notorious for doing, the fact that he's even considering and listening tells me that he's not concerned with being governor of California anymore because he has term limits. But he is eyeing president of the United States of America in 2028. Let's continue.
The problem is it's so transparently about political expediency if he's going to change his core beliefs. And here would be the biggest problem that I would see that he has. He has something called a track record. He's been in government. He's the mayor of San Francisco, lieutenant governor for 8 years. At the end of this term, he'll have been governor for 8 years. He has a track record. So I don't think you get to run away from the positions you have been holding for decades just by talking to conservatives like Charlie Kirk. He never invited me on the podcast. I'm offended, by the way. I'm very offended. I feel left out.
Well, you should text Gavin. And secondly, you're exactly right, Sean. There was a moment of
before you went on.
There was a moment of podcast. Yeah. Well, no, and look, there was this back and forth where I drilled him. I said, look, you have the highest cost of living in California. You have the most homelessness in the country in California. You have the highest poverty rate in the country in California. You have the second highest home prices in the country. You guys control the House, the Senate, the governor's mansion, lieutenant governor's mansion, secretary of state, and the attorney general, and every statewide elected office for the last 20 years. How is this Republicans' fault? What record are you going to run on? And you could, every time there's anything California specific, you know this from moderating the wonderful DeSantis debate, he gets hyper aggressive and focuses on one little minute detail, and he just tries to bring you down into the ditch. But everyone has been voting with their feet when it comes to California over the last couple of years. They have net population loss. People are leaving in record numbers. They also had the highest gas prices prices unnecessarily, highest gas tax. And so, look, there's nothing to run on except for the fact that he is very slippery and slick, and he's trying to reinvent and rebrand himself. And look, I'll talk to anybody at any time. There was a whole part, too, where I even got him to tacitly admit that President Trump is unlike any other cultural phenomenon we've ever seen. He's like, oh, yeah, I went to the Oval Office with President Trump, and I had a great time with him. I said, well, are you going to work with President Trump with ICE and immigration and Border Patrol? And, of course, he had a slick answer to that as well. But I think there's a looming Democrat civil war happening because Gavin Newsom is realizing that if he does not come to the middle on a lot of issues and magnify some of his positions, there will be no chance for him in a general election. But President Trump has completely remade the American body politic, and you can start to see the most opportunistic Democrat of them all, Gavin Newsom, at least attempting to adjust with some of his rhetoric. We'll see if his actions follow.
Thanks.
Gavin Newsom, hear me and hear me clearly. Hear me and hear me clearly. I've been saying this at the rooftops, and I want to tell you what his strategy is going to be. Gavin Newsom, let me turn this blue to Democrat blue. Gavin Newsom is going to run for president of the United States of America, and he is changing his position to rebrand himself, just like Charlie Clerk said. I said that he was rebranding himself a long time ago. He's ran California into the ground. California has had liberal policies, and they've been trash ever since. And so I think that not only is he about to run for president of the United States of America, he's putting Kamala Harris on notice because Kamala Harris has a decision to make of whether she wants to run for president in 2028 or governor for California in 2026. He's pushing her that way. He's trying to eliminate the competition, and he's somewhat rebranding and going against the grain of what the Democrats stand for today to come more towards the middle to hopefully, in his opinion, probably appeal to a wider range or a broader audience, not to the people that's going to be loyal to the Democrat Party no matter what. Because we know, for example, black people, y'all pride yourselves on being a 92, 93%, 77, 78%. We know that y'all hate Trump. Y'all gonna hate Vance. Y'all gonna hate Byron Donalds. You gonna hate Vivek Ramaswamy. You gonna hate all of these people. So we know that. We get it. We got you. Same old playbook. But in order for anybody to even have a chance to become president of the United States of America in 2008 on the Democrat side, which we all know that that's not going to happen, Gavin Newsom is probably the most charismatic of them all, and he is the one that is willing to rebrand himself and go against the cultural norms so that he can have a chance to possibly face J.D. Vance. His track record says one thing, but we know that Democrats are going to run based off of how you feel, not necessarily what you've done. His track record may say one thing, but I'm telling you, and he's smart enough, even though he's done a horrible job, he's smart enough to at least recognize, you know what, I'm reading the room, and I have to be more of a charismatic leader to then move more towards the middle and align myself with Republicans, which is one of the reasons why he was greeting Trump the way that he was greeting him when Trump first won president of the United States of America, or when he won a second time, and then he met him off the plane when he was trying to make sure that he get that funding for those wildfires. He was very diplomatic, very accommodating, very helpful, very loving when it came to the Trump administration. Oh, yes, Gavin Newsom is the slipperiest of them all. And I think that he just might have a chance. I think that he might have a chance of coming out of the Democrat side as far as the potential candidate for being president of the United States of America. I don't think that he has a chance to win, but I think he has a chance to beat out all of the rest of the Democrats. And it is a civil war that's about to happen. I think that Jasmine Crockett is trying to market herself more. I think that AOC is trying to market themselves more. When they doing what they doing today, for example, Democrats, especially Congress people, know that they have no power whatsoever. They have zero power whatsoever. They are lame ducks in a Republican-led Congress, president. We control all three branches of government, so we're going to get some stuff done. And we moving with the speed of an Olympic sprinter. All right? So they're not concerned with actually doing anything meaningful. They're concerned with marketing themselves. Everything you see Democrats doing today, they're not doing it on the behalf of the people. They're not trying to reach out to you. They're not trying to resonate with you. They're trying to build up their following and build up their track record and build up their visibility so that they can then position themselves for what their future opportunity presents them. They not focused on the now. They're focused on holding on to the position that they have and making sure that they can put themselves in a greater position to possibly run for president or governor or whatever. Everything in politics from a Democrat side right now, because y'all so under duress, because y'all lost, is trying to galvanize your base and trying to get the people behind you so that you can run for whatever your next position is going to be. When you see these people on all these platforms, on The View, whatever, they're just basically getting their reps in. Smart. And it is smart. But they are positioning themselves for what they want, not for where they at. That's the fact. They position themselves for what they want, not for where they are. And I can't blame them. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm. Subscribe to get this blue off my... Can't do this extra blue. Let's go back red, y'all. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel. Let's go orange. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Let me read a few of these super chats and I'm going to get y'all going for the day. Well, let me read this one. Just a brown girl in America. What's up, baby? Says, I hope he would never become our president. He is one of the lizard people and I'm scared. Don't be scared. We don't get scared. We galvanize. We engage. We get active and we participate. That's what we do. And we know that ain't no liberals going out to the polls anyway. They don't even care about what happens inside of their neighborhoods. Anyways, make sure y'all tune into the Q show tonight. Also, make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. We got a video that is dropping. And then last but not least, make sure you share this with your family and friends because we don't want to be rich by ourselves. We absolutely want you to come along with us. All right. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to see y'all tonight. Peace.